My niece is in second grade here, and my niece would constantly recite her poetry. She would tell us all about the things she was learning, the story of the world, and I knew instantly it was completely different than anything that I've heard before, and I knew that it was something special. I taught in a district for 10 years, and what we were teaching the children wasn't the same caliber, and the quality was different. I can tell that she was learning more in-depth content, and I was really interested.
Well, when I was at a typical county school, I felt like there was something missing. I didn't know what it was. I couldn't put my finger on it. The curriculum bothered me at some things that we had to teach. So I thought, well, I'm just going to start looking. So I started looking, and I accidentally, honestly, found classical prep. I thought, I'm just going to fill out the application. And in the application, it started asking questions about truth and beautiful. And okay, why are they asking me this on an application? And that intrigued me even more to look further into classical. And it was at the end of the school year, so I could have just stayed where I was and been comfortable and thought, no, I'm going to do this. And when I spoke with them about what classical has to offer, the character traits, all of the habits, and the whole child teaching that we would be doing here, I felt like I needed to be a part of it because it was going to be something that was really fabulous.
Classical education aims to find out what truth is. What is the nature of truth? What is the nature of man? Who are we supposed to be? What is our purpose? How can we influence the larger world for the better? How can we delve into a history that is incredibly beautiful and has aimed towards answering those questions of what is truth, what is man, what is nature. I could not think of a better education for any child.
We teach our students at Classical Prep to be self-governing. As an end goal, we want our students to be the kind of people that can not only think for themselves, but can act rightly. We are different from 99% of the schools across the state, whether it's public, whether it's private, because we're defined as a classical school and not a charter school. We're not simply an alternative. We are purposefully and intentionally different, and we're purposefully and intentionally classical in who we are.
A classical liberal arts education goes far beyond the education offered at most schools today, which focus solely on preparing students for a vocation. Classical education far exceeds this. It prepares students to excel at any vocation. It gives them the tools to succeed at anything they set their minds to, by equipping them to think analytically, to be innovative, to read complex texts, and write and speak eloquently. And in such a complex and ever-changing world, it shortchanges students to merely focus on the skills of today. They need an education that prepares them to excel in a quickly changing world. Classical education does that. It is really a strategic preparation for the future.
and not government as the people by the people for the people, not government.
Classical education realizes that information alone is nothing without the ability to process it, to analyze it, and to use it to build on for innovation. It sees the additional complexity that information must also be understood, as well as the even more difficult task of making good decisions without information as a moral agent. Any education that just throws information at students is doomed to fail ultimately, because it doesn't train the mind with the power to think, the power to make wise choices. Only a classical education does that.
Literature in 5th grade. I love it. I am so spoiled with what I get to teach. We get to read such books as A Wrinkle in Time, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Anne of Green Gables, Tom Sawyer, Treasure Island, classic works that have stood the test of time. The point of being a classical book, or classic book, is that it speaks to parts of human nature and speaks to the human condition. And these books are just, they're ones you can really dig into and grasp and get that. And 5th graders love them. They do. They love it. And we sit and we talk not just about the characters, not just about the plot, which are all good things, obviously, and all necessary to learn. But we talk about the lessons that are in the book. We talk about what the characters are going through, whether that is Meg, who is, she likes to play the victim at the beginning of the book, and everything's wrong and she's terrible and this and that, but then she has to go through this epic journey where she has to be brave, she has to practice fortitude, and she has to learn what prudence is, what is wisdom, how do I choose between fighting that inner weakness that we all have in order to do the right thing and come through on top. So these characters in these novels are just, it's worthwhile to teach, worthwhile to learn, and the kids really see it, and I'm grateful to be able to teach it. So grateful.
Well, I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is the type of books that we read, because it's not, just what's popular right now. They're very purposeful and meaningful classical novels that do have that credibility and time behind them. For example, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is really fun to teach because the kids get really into it, and it's all about not being perfect as a human. And that goal is basically unattainable. And so that's really fun to talk about, because then, we have all these different views of what is a perfect person, and how do you reach that, and why can't you reach it, and I don't know. So there's all these different sort of lessons in the novels that are really fun to teach.
She asked me on number 19, could she do that times 8? Why could she not? I think that the lessons that we teach and the textbooks that we use, they are more rigorous, and they provide more learning opportunities and more, frankly, teaching opportunities for teachers. We get into literature, we go into history, and it's not just, these are our 13 colonies. We dive back into European history, and it just gives the children a whole background that they never had before. It's wonderful.
And when I came to classical prep, it was like first and foremost academics and character education, and really teaching children to be great individuals and respectful individuals. And immediately walking into my classroom, this is their first year here, or they just started maybe a month before I got there. I had some new students. They all understood what is expected. They understood that character is just equally as important as academics. If you set the bar high for those students, they will meet your expectations, and then they will exceed them because they want to make sure that you're proud of them, and in turn they'll become proud of themselves.
The standards and the academic rigor is strong, but yet the teachers bring those students along. And I think as parents, that's our goal for our kids, that they be successful and are taught how to think and taught how to be successful in the real world. And I think you guys are starting that not later in life, but even with modeling it with the earliest of grades.
Our school day is rigorous. We have high expectations for our kids. We find that we set the bar high and our students rise to it. During the school day, our students don't just do busy work, but they do work that's meaningful, that matters. If you were to walk into one of our classrooms, you would notice that our students are very focused and they're very engaged. Not only have our students learned to be attentive and practice the habit of self-discipline, but our students genuinely care about what they're learning, because they're learning things that matter. At Classical Prep, we prepare our students to be successful into college and into whatever career they choose to pursue. Because we teach them how to think, how to be critical thinkers, how to see a situation and think innovatively and think outside the box. Individuals who have been classically educated are successful because they've not just been taught what to think, but how to think.